Miami is a major transportation center and is easily reached by all forms of travel. The Latin American influence has given Miami a unique flavor.
In the 70s, when I first came down here, everybody was smuggling pot. The Colombians realized they had a gold mine here. Everybody that before was doing these pot things was now into doing cocaine.
Threw a number at us, $3,000 a kilo. Their first trip, we got paid $1.2 million.
Popularity, it began to shoot up. I had lawyers, I had doctors.
Somebody that could afford what it cost.
About $800 an ounce. I had met a stewardess, and she would go from here to San Francisco, selling to the Oakland Raiders, the Grateful Dead. I got the whole front line of the Pittsburgh Steelers in my house.
There are several major players in the global drug trafficking regime. Of all the countries that produce drugs in the world, the major drug-producing countries, such as Afghanistan, grow over 93% of the opium poppy in the world. In 2007, this is what Afghanistan accomplished, which was the second record-setting year in a row for the country. The export value alone of such a harvest was over $4 billion, which is more than a third of the country's combined gross domestic product. Countries like Mexico are major transportation hubs for drugs into the United States. In 2007, approximately 90% of all cocaine consumed in the United States traveled through Mexico. The country is also a major source of heroin, methamphetamines, and marijuana that entered the United States. In 2007 alone, Mexican officials intercepted more than 52 tons of cocaine, 2,396 tons of marijuana, 643 pounds of opium gum, 656 pounds of heroin, and 1,981 pounds of methamphetamine. Countries like Colombia and Bolivia are two of the largest cocaine-producing countries in the world. They supply an enormous amount of the cocaine that exists in the United States, in South America, and on a global scheme. In 2007, the Colombian government seized 144 tons of cocaine and 350,000 gallons of precursor chemicals needed to produce cocaine. Bolivia, as stated before, is another major cocaine-producing country. Along with Peru, they produce a significant amount of the cocaine and marijuana that comes out of South America. Countries like Brazil are key transportation hubs for cocaine and marijuana making their way up to North America.
We want to give you guys the opportunity to go to Peru, everything included for a few weeks.
All expense paid trip to Peru.
You know, we wanted to travel. It was Peru. We've never been there.
We were like, wow.
You go over there, you hang out with our friends, they'll take you, you want to go shopping, you'll go shopping, you'll do whatever you want.
They made it sound like it was Rio de Janeiro or something. We'd be going on the vacation of our lives.
The beaches are beautiful. The water's blue.
A little hesitant, because not understanding why they were going to pay for us to go to Peru.
No, well, you just have to bring something a little bit extra.
We'll get your plane tickets, we'll get your passports. You just have to bring something a little extra back in your bag. We're like, okay, what? And they said, a little bit of cocaine.
It's just a little small amounts. It's no big deal.
It's like bringing a pair of tennis shoes in our bag. It was nothing. And they told us that the bags were, you know, everything was professional. Everything was professional. They spent thousands of dollars on making these bags.
We would not even be able to see the drugs. You know, they have a way of doing it to where it's put in the seam of your bag. And, you know, basically, we wouldn't even be able to tell that it was there. I asked, what if we would get caught? What if we do get caught? And I remember them specifically saying, this is something that did stick in my mind. They said, there's no way that you will get caught. There's no way.
Trust me, you'll pay $5,000 each.
Cash?
You have a couple of days to think about it. We'll meet Thursday.
Okay.
Within a day, everyone would be selling. Your friends, their kids. Here's why. It's an unbeatable market force, man. It's a 300% markup value. You can go out on the street and make $500 in 2 hours, come back and do whatever you want to do with the rest of your day. And I'm sorry, you're telling me that white people will still be going to law school?
A ring of drug smugglers figured out a way to mold cocaine into replicas of the pricey Manolo Blahnik's shoes during a 2-year international drug trafficking caper. Each pair of shoes was estimated to have been worth around $70,000, where a normal non-cocaine pair is about $900. Spanish cops busted the gang with $630,000 worth of cocaine that had been carefully sculpted to look exactly like the high-heeled luxury woman's footwear made famous on Sex and the City. Cops said that the gang had been shipping the fancy footwear from Colombia to Barcelona and then sold it on the streets of Spain throughout Europe. The arrests were made only after the culmination of a 4-month probe. In the past, Spanish police have discovered cocaine shipments disguised as replica sculptures, a plaster cast protecting a man's broken leg, and even an entire 42-piece tea set. The bust revealed probably the most inventive method of smuggling the drug, which was mixed with a liquid turned into a paste, molded, then painted to look exactly like the shoes. Spain's proximity to Morocco, a key source of hashish, and close ties with its former colonies in Latin America, a major cocaine-producing region, have made it a major gateway into Europe for drug traffickers.
At $144 billion US, the North American market for drugs is the largest in the world, according to the World Drug Report. To put this into perspective, our black market drug trade is more valuable than the GDP of 72% of the countries in the world. There's a lot of money in selling drugs, no surprise there. Considering that, this market is 16 times more valuable than the global market for coffee. It shouldn't be a surprise when farmers in Central and Latin America or the Caribbean, the primary origins of U.S. drug imports, elect to grow marijuana or cocoa instead of coffee and other agricultural goods. The U.S. demand for drugs distorts regional economies and brings criminal activities and violence to communities across the Americas. Much of Central and Latin America is currently caught in the midst of a bitter drug-related violence, which has significantly increased in recent years in response to an increased drug consumption. This violence is part of why the U.S. Department of State recommends that you don't travel to Mexico or much of Central America for a vacation this year. In fact, according to the United Nations, of the top 25 countries in the world with the highest murder rate, 23 are in Central and Latin America or the Caribbean. San Pedro Sula, a Honduran city and major drug distribution point, is among the most dangerous places on the planet after recording 159 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants in 2011. This violence is simply a response to the massive demand for drugs in the United States. We cannot blame our southern neighbors for drug-related crime, as entrepreneurs they are simply validating the free market's laws of supply and demand. Instead, we must realize that our addiction is fueling drug trade in the Americas and the hundreds of thousands of deaths that are associated with it each year.
Destroy a community when you're dealing with street level. When you're talking about drug dealing on a level where major drug dealers are living here, vacationing here, buying homes, laundering their money and so forth, that picks up the economy of a city or of a community.
And a lot of the money secretly did go into infrastructure.
$2.3 billion worth of construction is currently underway in downtown Miami.
The general construction and everything in downtown and on Brickell.
Downtown Development Authority officials say another $1 billion worth of construction will be in progress within the next 6 to 8 months.
They built half the city. They built the high-rises, they built the scrapes.
This building boom, they say, will last for the next 10 years.
The drug trade saved Miami in a lot of ways. If you look out at this skyline, a lot of this real estate was
built or bought and paid for with drug money. This new construction means at least 25,000 additional jobs and an annual payroll in the millions. The new condominiums, office buildings, and banks will add an additional $20 million to the city of Miami's tax base.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.